It's time to gather around the table, it is, and we are going to create something that's summertime, right out of the garden, an old yellow crook-neck squash, turn it into something classic and great, and that is a cheesy squash casserole, right from my mama's old writing. Thank y'all for joining us again today. My name is Kent Rollins, and guess what's happening? Hey, we be cooking, we be grilling, we be showing you tips about cast iron, how to train your wonder dog like Frank or the Beagle. We got you covered. But today we're doing something that is really an old classic to us. And I want to tell you, if you've ever raised squash, if it really gets a good rain and makes off, it multiplies faster than a bunch of rabbits. I mean, you'll have more squash than you can feed the whole county. So we're going to make just an old-fashioned squash casserole that my mother used to make all the time, and whoo, is it good. But make sure when you get them, they ain't these big old long honking piece of things that are tough as a boot, because they need to be tender when we start. So let's get right into it. And I got... That's a gnat, Shan. He crawled in this one and...
Came out the other side?
Well, y'all seen me the other day in that video, the classic southern dish, fried green tomatoes, and Shan will link you that, and right up there below you can watch it. But we went down there to Frank's garden and got it. Yellow crook-neck squash. I like to slice them about 1/4 of an inch thick. Now that is 2 gnat's bristles and a frog's hair more than a 3/16. That way your cook time is always even. Now I have chopped up 1 medium to large size Vidalia onion, and I'm just going to throw it in there with them squash. I like to give that a little tossing with my hand. Sure, we're going to stir it here and again after a minute, but this way I know it's sort of incorporated well. And look here, there was one of them that stuck together, so make sure they all apart. And there comes the bee again, fresh from a bear hunt, needing a drink of water, Shan. We've melted 3 tablespoons of butter to start this process. So in the skillet it go, folks. And it is a skillet full. While it's sitting right there handy, let's go ahead and season with a little salt and a little pepper, and cook this a little to where it begins to get tender. And then we'll go on with the process. I can hear some simmering action there. You know what it needs? A lid. Now a lot of y'all are asking, how come them skillets don't come with the lid? Some of them do, some of them don't. There's a lot of things that'll fit for a lid. Just like this 12-inch Dutch oven is going to fit on this 10-inch filled skillet. That way I can get me some of that steaming process, which is going to speed this whole deal up, because me and Beagle and Frank's getting powerful hungry. Guess what? Didn't take long to look at that nor feel of it. One thing about a glove, if it gets hot, it'll begin to shrivel and get tight on your hand. So before you burn one on there, you might want to take it off every once in a while. But you're cooking these about maybe 10 minutes at the most, depending on where you're at cooking them. Now, you just want to cook them till they get pretty tender right in the center, and you can see we've reached that point. You folks remember the crispy hash brown video recipe? Shan might have a link up there for it too, I don't know. But what did we have? A Martian helmet. This is a very important step in cooking squash casserole. You gotta let it drain. Squash has got a lot of water in it, and we got to get rid of some of that water. So we're just gonna set it right in here, and we're gonna let it sit there for about 3 to 4 minutes till all that juice is drained off of it. Give them a little shake every once in a while. Now, as we're sitting there doing that and we're waiting, we're going to take this remaining butter, 3 tablespoons, and there ought to be enough nearly residual heat in that filled skillet there to go ahead and just let that melt. So, well, we got them squashes all drained up, got them sitting there in the Dutch oven, so let's put the rest of it together. What first? 2 rooster bullets or cackleberries. Don't do that in the kitchen, but you can out here. The possum will clean it up later. 1/2 cup of milk is what goes next. Then we got about 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. We got us a blend of cheese here, about 2 cups worth. Mozzarella and cheddar mixed together. Let's get them eggs beaten just lightly, and then we'll incorporate it a little more. Salt and pepper to taste there a little. It is. One more little mixing. Drained our squash, got them in here, got the rest of this stuff mixed up. Let's just pour it sort of evenly there around it. Crackers, regular old saltine crackers, 1 sleeve. Now if you're going to use this with them Ritz crackers, them buttery ones, use 2 of them sleeves. It will take that many. So give them a little crunch in here. It comes with its automatic pouring device. One thing we are going to do, we are going to level that out just a little more and give them a little patting. It's sort of like finishing out concrete. But wait, you say. What is next? About a 1/2 cup of that Parmesan cheese. You can't get too much cheese on something. And me and Shan, the Beagle, and Frank, we all do love us some cheese. We do. So we're going to call that the right amount. Whew, that is hot. We have us some leftover melted butter, about 3 tablespoons. We're going to try to just pour it up on here to where everybody gets a little of it. It's time to go to the fire, so let's get her done. Quicker we get it on, quicker we can eat. Well, folks, we're going to put it on a tall trivet because it ain't going to take a whole lot of heat to cook it, but we're going to give it a pretty good ring around the bottom, pretty heavy on the top. Get this to incorporate well till it's golden brown on top. Now, I never put coals directly under a Dutch oven, and well, let me tell you, not never. I do on occasion if I'm cooking some baked potatoes or something fast. But Shan's rule of thumb is, if you can stir it, something that you're cooking, hey, you can add a few more coals to it. You might even let them sneak under the bottom. But on these casseroles, I like to leave this on the outside edge of it out here. We're going to let this cook till it begins to bubble through really well. But also, I've got to cook that egg and that cheese to get it to set up, to give it that good crust on top of them crackers. Hey, Frank, don't leave yet. It's not going to be that long till we eat, okay? So just come on back up here, brother, you heathen. Now as this starts to cook and begins to bubble and simmer around them edges, as you've seen, time to rotate it is. Lid halfway one way, bottom round the other. That way we're evening out any hot spot that we might have. You can see things are beginning to happen pretty good. Got a lot of sizzling action over here, and that's beginning to set up over here on these sideboards. So I can tell by the firmness it is time to come off. We'll let the top catch up to the bottom. The bottom is still going to cook even though we took it off the fire, because that cast iron is holding in some heat. What I'm looking for now is just that top to brown up a little, get all that Parmesan well incorporated into that, crackers and everything, where it'll be a little crunch when we bite in there. As you can see, if Shan will pan down there, I have a guard dog on each side of the table to secure these premises from anybody getting to it too early. So folks, that does smell some good. Brings back, Frank, I'm gonna have to change my stance here a little. If you hear somebody go, oh, you'll know I got on his tail, folks, but it was an accident. We're gonna let this cool as it continues to set up right here. Then we're gonna dish it out, because boy, that stuff will burn the top of your mouth right now. So folks, we've let it cool, set up nicely we have. Next thing you gotta do is get one of them serving utensils called a spoon. This is what we've been waiting on from the time we planted the seed and watch it rain to it to grow, to bloom, to make a squash, to get in a Dutch oven. It's just got one more trip left, and where's that at? The squash itself is so unique, but when you mix the cheese with it and the crackers there, and then you get that Parmesan on top of it, the onion and the butter. This is one of my favorite old-time classic dishes because it brings back so many memories. There's just something about these old classic recipes that really get deep in my heart because it's what I grew up on. You know, the old women that got in them kitchens and fixed this stuff, it was with minimal ingredients and something fresh out of the garden a lot of times, this time of year especially. But they could bring it in there, add just 3 or 4 ingredients to it, and transform it into a masterpiece, a culinary delight for all to take pleasure in. And that's what food's supposed to do. Bring people around the table, share it with your friends and neighbors, and make sure it's good. So we are so glad, me and Shannon, the Beagle, and Frank, that you joined us down here along the river today. It's been a little hot, might have even been some lighting change due to clouds and sunlight, but that's Mother Nature's kitchen. We hope you learned something, how easy it can be to create something with just a few things. Go to your local farmer's market, go to the garden, still out of your neighbor's garden after dark, but get you some of these squash. Be sure and tell your friends and neighbors what we got going on this channel, because we appreciate you watching. Be sure and hit that subscribe button. God bless you, and see you down the squash trail.